Good everybody, my name is Samuel Chidera. Today I'll be talking on the biochemistry of muscle, connective and nervous tissue. This muscle tissue can be classified based on three classifications based on their function, which is cardiac muscle, skeletal muscle and smooth muscle tissue. Based on voluntary action, you have voluntary muscle and voluntary muscle action and involuntary muscle action. And based on striation, you have the striated muscle and non-striated muscle. The main structure of the muscle tissue is three parts: the and endomysium. You can see they have just take note. A motor unit is a nerve innervating a muscle fiber. Also in their structure, they have a tendon for skeletal muscles. Now for skeletal muscle fiber, it is long cylindrical fiber which is striated and has many peripheral nuclei. It has a voluntary function and produces heat and protects organs. The location of skeletal muscle is they are found in bones and entrance points of the body. For cardiac muscle fiber, they are short branch and striated and contain a central nucleus. Their function is they contract to pump blood and their location is the heart. The smooth muscle tissue, they are short, spindle shape with no striation. They have a single nucleus in each fiber. Their function is involuntary movement, they move food, involuntary control of respiration and secretion, regulates flow of blood in arteries by contraction. Their location is wall of major organs and passageways. Specific features of muscle protein. Muscle proteins can be regulatory, they can be contractile proteins and attachment proteins. For contractile proteins such as actin, which are thin myofilaments, and myosin, the thick filament. The regulatory proteins are tropomyosin and troponin. Tropomyosin at the resting stage of the muscle fiber. The tropomyosin is rounds the actin myofilament and prevents the head of myosin from attaching to the actin, thereby preventing contraction from occurring at rest. So attachment proteins can be nebulin, titin, alpha-actinin and dystrophin. Let's look at the mechanism of contraction. First stage after action potential arrives and causes the influx of sodium ions, which causes the opening and release of calcium ions from the lacunae of sarcomere. The first stage is that the myosin head attaches to the actin myofilament, then forms a cross bridge. Then the inorganic phosphates generated in the previous contraction cycle is released, initiating the power stroke. The myosin head pivots and bends as it pulls on the actin filament, sliding it towards the M line. Then ADP, adenosine diphosphate, is released. Now as new ATP attaches to the myosin head, the link between the myosin and actin weakens and the cross bridge detaches. Then as ATP is now split into the ADP and P, the myosin head is energized, cocked away into the high energy conformation. So this is the mechanism of contraction for myosin to bind to actin, why troponin is detached, causing tropomyosin to remove from actin. Now the energy source for muscle fiber or for muscular activity is derived from ATP or from other sources such as creatine phosphate, glycogen and so on. Now these features of connective tissue. Now we're talking about the connective tissue. Connective tissue is responsible for providing structural support for the tissues and organs of the body. I talked about skeletal muscle attaching to the bone by tendon, and tendons are dense regular connective tissue. So you can understand the structural function of connective tissue. Connective tissue is made up of cells and extracellular matrix. The dominance of the extracellular material is a special feature that distinguishes connective tissue from other types of tissues. Connective tissue cells are derived from mesenchymal cells, as we all know. Now, connective tissue types. We have proper connective tissue and specialized connective tissue. Proper connective tissue loose, we have and reticular and loose tissue. Then for them, you have regular and elastic or irregular connective tissue. Specialized connective tissue, you have the bone, the blood, and the cartilage. For cartilage, you have three types. You have the elastic cartilage, hyaline cartilage, and fibrocartilage. Then for bone, you have spongy and compact bone. Now, characteristics of collagen and elastin fibers. Collagen is the main structural protein found in the skin and in the connective tissue. It is the third most abundant protein in the body. It has a white color, and also it is found in the connective tissue, the skin, blood vessel, cornea, muscles, and bones. It gives strength to structures. It is produced throughout the life of a person. Why elastin is a major structural protein in the connective tissue of the elastic structures. It is less abundant than collagen. It has a yellow color. It is found in blood vessels and skin. Now let's talk about proteoglycan. Basically, proteoglycan is a protein that binds to glycosaminoglycan. Its function is that for interstitial protein and proteoglycans, its function is that it binds water and form hydrated matrices. It fills space between cells and can absorb compressive load. Another function is that it helps organize the basement membrane, forming a scaffold for epithelial cell migration, proliferation, and differentiation. It also helps to regulate the permeability of the specialized basement membranes. Now let's talk about the osseous tissue or the bone. The bone, the characteristics of the bone, it has a dense matrix containing deposits of calcium salts. Osteocytes are bone cells, which like they are bone forming cells. They are organized in a lacunae around blood vessels. The bone also has a canaliculi, which allows exchange of nutrients and waste, and also forms like a pathway where blood vessels passes. The periosteum of the bone covers the outer surface of the bone, consists of outer fibrous and inner cellular layers. The bone chemical composition. It has inorganic composition and organic composition. The organic composition, which is 33%, has 28% collagen fibers and 5% non-collagenous proteins. Then the 67% inorganic composition consists of hydroxyapatite, which has calcium ions. Last tissue we're going to be talking about today is the nervous tissue. The nervous tissue is composed of neurons or nerve cells and neuroglial cells. Neuroglial cells are supporting cells of the nervous tissue. They are the microglia, ependymal cells, the oligodendrocytes, the Schwann cells. Schwann cells and oligodendrocytes, they secrete or they form myelin sheaths in the central nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. So, structure of a neuron. The neuron has three parts. You see this, the dendrite and axons. Depending on the location or depending on the nervous system, the neuron can either be myelinated or non-myelinated. Non-myelinated neurons conduct impulses at a very high velocity, while they conduct impulses faster than non-myelinated nerve fibers because of the myelin sheath, which acts as an insulator for impulses. This is the node of Ranvier found between the myelin. In this ions tend of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier in very high velocity and speed. Now, role of neurotransmitters in transmission of impulses. The neurotransmitters, which are are chemically released by nerve upon arrival of nerve impulse. They act like signals. Take for instance, in normal conduction of impulses, when inaction potential arrives at the axon terminal, causing calcium ions here to open. This the release of calcium ions causes exocytosis of neurotransmitters, which then travels in the synaptic receptors on the postsynaptic membrane, forming a neurotransmitter receptor complex. This voltage gated sodium ions causes them to open and causing the influx of sodium. This causes depolarization in the postsynaptic membrane, which then causes the efflux of potassium at a different stage of the action potential. So this neurotransmitter helps in normal impulse transmission. They act as this signal that causes the release of these ions. So acetylcholine attack cholemma. So we have inhibitory and excitatory neurotransmitter depending on its function. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe. Black Lives Matter.